throwing one from like South Africa or something.
Oh yeah.
The Hungamunga.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's got multiple. Yeah. It almost looks like a huge shuriken with a handle.
Harbortown is
yeah,
an all-new series from
my next first level is going to specialize in
the tabletop gaming scene. Unique,
that's awesome.
Flexible, and playable.
The throwing weapon that does 1 to 12, 1 to 12.
Oh, no. Tim will be doing flips and skips and whatever. No! Oh man, it's funny. It's funny. I'm gonna do the one more time screen for the Watcher's Towers. Just thank you for watching, kind of do.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into yours. I got so many buttons here. Hopefully I remember the right button. Gotta be kidding me. Check something. Twice. I'll probably run it at the end too.
Yeah.
That's quick. I'm gonna run a third time just because I still got a lot of time. Oh, I said it for twice. Duh. Oh, hold on. I can go here and then back. We're not ready yet. One more time. Duh. Got crap everywhere on it. Notes everywhere tonight. Again. Blues may win tonight?
Yeah, I think they got a good shot at it.
Yeah, it's going to be close. It's just Boston is always tough to close them out of a series.
Yeah.
Will's on. I will run. I promise. I have a really great teaser ad for Will for his new Goes to Saltmarsh show on Tuesdays. I'm going to run that at the end of the show. It's really very well done. Let's get people hopping on here.
Yep.
Hit 7. That's funny. Yeah, Will, I saw that on Discord where you and you said Adam. I meant Jay's the man, not you, Adam. I saw that. Keep the questions and the comments coming tonight, guys, because we're old men. So the more we're looking at this, the adventures we picked, we're like, I don't remember this. Both of us. So that's awesome. Look at all those VIPs and subscribers and all that. You know, the Michael Baton's winged sword is a month away for looks like for Jeff, for Mark, for me, and I know it is for Naz. Yes. Rock's 50th next week. That was why I said I had Mark put the date down. It's next week, and next week is the Greyhawk Talk one. Yes, so it's next 50th is next week. Cool. I guess Will does not have a game, so it's 7:29. Let's hop on here.
Yep, go for it.
Go for it. Hey, I am Jay. Okay, look, somebody got DM Marco with me tonight. The ever mysterious Tim may get on at some point. He got pulled into something, and he may, and hopefully he does, because there's one module in particular I have not run, and Mark has not run. It's on our list, and Tim has run multiple times.
For about 40 years overall. Yeah. There are ones we have not run.
Yes, absolutely. You're not done. So, how is everyone tonight? Nice crowd. Appreciate you guys all hopping on. We are going to talk. This came to me. I don't know. I was just thinking to myself, and it starts with these two publications right here. I got my prison version of my Dungeons and Dragons original box set with the chits in it. I think I showed these on the show on Legends of Lore Wednesday night. Like, you put them in a jar. This is before you even had dice, right? You have that, and then you had your Greyhawk Folio, right? And they're the two things you start with, back in the day, before even you had your AD&D books, and then you had some published modules. But after that, there's nothing, man. Maybe there's some Judges Guild here and there or whatever. So came to me like, what do we rely on, especially in like the 80s, for like fillers, because there weren't adventure cards out yet. There wasn't third parties besides Judges Guild. There really wasn't any third parties out. Mark, do you remember any?
No, you waited very patiently for TSR to come out with something.
Yeah, and so that's the deal. And then Dragon Magazine occasionally had a gem in it, and then they came out with Dungeon. And I was thinking to myself, man, I wanted to go through. When did White Dwarf start? That's a good question. Well, it's got to be sometimes in the 70s. Probably like 70. This is a guess, 76, because one of the module that we need Tim for is from White Dwarf 18. It's one of the oldest White Dwarfs. So, I mean, we could pop it up and take a look. Yeah, Mark's gonna take a look at it. But so. Tonight we're going to talk about classic adventures and magazines. Now these are all all of them are made in either old school 1E for the most part. I don't even think any of them are 2E or basics. But these are going to be easily convertible for you. So we picked. I went through the list. I talked to my guys. Which ones did you remember from the early days of the campaign? And this is a list we came up with a couple of little tidbits thrown in here and there. And so I referenced a nice list on your lower left. June 77. There you go. That's pretty close. Awesome. Your lower left, I have an adventure comes up, and then the publication it's in comes up right after it. Okay, so that's to Mark's left. So right now, the second part of the Twofold Talisman's up. It's just scrolling through. And then it'll pop up next with the publication it's out of. So that way, if you guys want to go, hey, where's this at? It's right there for you, okay? And then in the upper right, I have the game will pop up again. Then key pictures, which I snipped from all of them. We put up to highlight some memories in each of them. So at least you guys have some idea onto what we have. And some of them I printed out, or some of them I had printed out for ages. And some of them I didn't need to print out because I know them so well. And some of them I don't, like I said, I don't know at all. One in particular. So, but I know Jason Zavada knows about it. And I saw Jason on, but I'm not sure if he's in chat yet. He may just be lurking right now. And I know he put up a publication on Halls of Tees and Thane. But so back in the day, this is Mark and I had a similar beginning style. So Mark, why don't you discuss that? What we used to do with new players. Hey, Jason.
So, I'm sorry?
I just said hi to Jason.
So the big thing was that we always, whenever we started off with new players, we always had like a key 3 set of adventures that we would run through. The interesting thing is Jay and I shared the third one because we both loved it so much, which is called Citadel by the Sea. It was actually, I think if I remember correctly, it was a Gen Con tournament.
It appeared and then it appeared in Polyhedron magazine before. I think it even appeared in Dragon, and it was so popular that they put it in the Dragon. And so that was the one I had up first, and we'll discuss that one obviously first. But hey, Jason, good to see you on, man, for this conversation. So it should be a very interesting one tonight.
Absolutely.
We're at any pace. It doesn't matter how slow or fast we go tonight. This is get into some meat here, some ideas. So.
Yeah, but we always started off with three separate ones to hand off with newer groups and so forth, and always started off with those base 3 for different reasons, and I'll give mine when we get to that part. But I think you'll really enjoy tonight. It's a really good discussion about some very well put together modules, if you will, especially the ones around the Twofold Talisman. That was, I read through that one in a long time, but there's some very unique comedic twists that are in it that are very, very memorable for me.
Yeah, so Gitano put up this is the key one right here. We'll start, and I'll just scan through. I was wondering if I should let it scroll, but yeah, people like to see what's going on heck here.
Yep.
All the good ones. Citadel by the Sea is beloved by everyone in our campaign, and it is I don't know how many times I've run it. It's got to be almost like 7 for different people, for a couple different groups. I mean, I've run this one a lot, and it's an adventure that has a great story plot to it. It's a little bit challenging, so it's not initial first. I say you want to have them. You want to have some first with a little experience, right, Mark? What do you think?
Yeah,
a little experience.
That was my third one.
Yeah, and there may be some characters like straight that are second. So, yeah, we got yes, I got that in there, Bill. I have it in here. It's my little surprise. I scanned through. You're going to see it. Hey, Tom. So everyone's getting on here tonight. That's awesome. Yep. So yes, I have. It's in here because we're going to run it soon. Yep, and it took a lot. Bill actually got a hold of that one. So Citadel by the Sea was a classic, and it had a great weapon, Alkarg, in it. The Elf Slayer, and you had to be an orc or half orc to use it properly. And it always led to a problem if there was a half orc in the party because it's an evil weapon. And yeah. Oh my gosh, Tom. Oh man, that the fumbles that that was so, and then he fumbled on a death save too. Yeah,
Yes.
East Broadhead. So what a crazy night that was. But it was a blast. So on Thursday, and that took 4 weeks, and the scenario based way to go worked well with a higher level party, and so I'm gonna semi do something like that on Thursday, but not to that extent. So
Yeah. And
yes,
for those watching, that one map right
that
across
one, yes.
is actually from Citadel by the Sea.
Yes, and look, it's semi-shaped like someone holding a torch, and Alcarg itself in the bottom level. That's why I put that up there. Yeah. So and there's Alcarg on the old king's lap.
Yep.
There's a were rat in this too. I don't want to scare
Oh yeah,
people.
there's
Yeah, so you better have
Yep.
someone with a magic weapon,
Yep.
or capable of taking down something with spells, offensive spells. So it's not a first level base introductory. Who did the art, Jason? I don't know, and I'll get that. I'll give everyone credit for it. It's a good question. I am not 100% sure. That's one thing I did not. No, that's all right, man. Don't worry about the caps. I don't know. A lot of them, it says it, but I put down a lot of data here. That's one thing I didn't put down was the artwork persons. So let's give credit where credit's due on this one. Sealed Love by the Sea by Sid Fisher. Okay, so it was in Dragon 78. And the earliest I have it on my adventure log out of 855 on Thursday adventures is number 12. It's adventure. That's how old it is for us. It goes back to adventure 12. So it goes way back. But we always, a lot of groups that run this adventure run into the issue of people fighting over this weapon because it's so overpowered at high, for first level, second level characters to get. So what, Mark, tell everyone what happened last time you ran it with Slap, which is not
So
that long ago.
We do have a half orc in the group, and he just decided to go forward through all the orcs and plate mail, and ended up getting taken over by the spear. And then subsequently, as he made his way out, was trying to make his way out, the party managed to take him down without killing him. But unfortunately, the cleric assassin that is there ended up backstabbing the NPC that was holding on to Alcarg and managed to get away with it. Now, the funnier part was that they had an opportunity to stop him. In the party, there is a drow thief named Ilya, who was hiding in shadows, and she had an opportunity to actually trip him as he was going out the door and decided not to. So she took a lot of grief for that, still does to this day. They even had an opportunity to get it back. They managed to get it back, but that was the first time I've ever seen a party that ended up failing the ultimate mission, being able to bring the spear back.
Well, Bill's other groups of friends, they were, they called it Al Crag. Of course, they always messed up names, and they had, I forget what the guy's name was, Glug or something like that was using it. So it was a it's a nasty weapon against elves and half elves, and that counts Drow too. But really, it only works properly in the hands of an orc or a half orc. Yeah. So yeah, Glug, that's it, Bill. Yeah. So abuse maxed, but the adventure is fantastic. It's a good starting point for some meat to your adventures. You know what I mean? Some real content to it, and something you can build off of. It's got some great. Hi, Icarus 1030. Good to see you. It had some great, interesting. Really interesting concepts in it. It's a good story, that's why it won awards, and so we fell in love with it. I know it's Tom's favorite entry level adventure, and so we got a lot, man. Wow, Sprocket's on, everyone's on tonight. That's great. Good to see. Good, lots of swords and lots of diamonds. I'd love to see that, guys. So
Yeah, it's got a lot of intrigue to it. You can
Yeah,
actually build a real good nemesis out of it as well, if you so choose.
that's true.
Fits very nicely in a Greyhawk campaign. I always run this one to the east of Greyhawk, like in the Cairns, actually.
I run this on a near the ocean, like the southern Keeland, always for me.
Mhm.
That's where I used to run it, was southern Keeland, because I would go. All right, so Mark said earlier, how do you do like early on, like if you have a new group of players, brand new group of players, you want to go easy on them, right?
Yep.
So we each have our own 3 adventures that we run. Now I usually run 1 or 2 beforehand, depending. And if we're not doing a campaign arc of some sort that I've set up, I have 2 that we're not going to go over tonight because they're homebrewed by me before Citadel by the Sea, and betcha Bill knows them. So ketchup and mustard. Hey, I got 4 different color shirts with our site logo and the Order of York logo on it, Jeff. So you're gonna have to get used to that logo. Self promotion. Plus, everyone shirts are going all out to a lot of people shortly. So who's requested them? Thanks, Jeff. Thank you very much. Shirts are going out, but I have what's called In the Flesh, right? Actually, before that, the first one's Kulara's Lair. Very basic adventure. You go into an evil priestess's domain, and you have to basically smoke her out. You have to go out and find her. Very basic, but it's got some traps in it and stuff. And then In the Flesh takes place in the town of Rushford, which is right next to where the Winchester estate is in Keeland, near near the capital, near the sunken Allen's Keep, that area. So every time I'd run that, would have brought a new Winchester in the 80s. And that's how they kind of got everywhere. But it takes place in Rushford, and there's an abandoned, something's wrong at a manor house. You got to find out what the problem is. So they're my 2 leading up to Citadel by the Sea. But we won't go, like I said, we're going over published stuff tonight. So Mark, why don't you talk about the 2 you do in order, and we'll talk about them next. How's that?
Sure.
Yes, In the
Sure.
Flesh, Bill, absolutely. A classic by me. Thanks for remembering it. So that's the second one. I think I have it next.
Yeah, you had it. It was actually before that.
Was it? Okay.
But the one I like to start off with is out of Dragon 92, and the interesting thing is even though we're AD&D players, this is actually a D&D adventure that I've adapted to first, second editions. It's what is referred to as the
There
Sword
it
of.
is.
And the basic gist is, as you're seeing there up on the screen, the basic gist of it is that there's a murder mystery that has effectively happened, and in the adventure itself, they have what they believe is a suspect in an elf named Falric. And Falric, who has lived in the town, he's about the only elf amongst a human settlement.
There's the mansion. Yep.
He ends up being seen in the area and gets brought in as a suspect to the actual murder. And the mayor of the town ends up deciding, can't get anything out of Falric, so he ends up deciding to bring in a what is known as the Sword of Justice. And the unfortunate thing is that Falric is the only one that actually knows it, but the sword is it knows that it is a lie detector, and so it will glow blue anytime anybody tells a lie near it, which is why people love it, because it does give you information. What they don't know, what the rest of the townfolk don't know, and that Falric does know because he's an elf and has been around for so long, it also glows blue in the presence of elves. So he ends up, as they bring the sword closer to him, he ends up casting an invisibility spell on himself and grabs the sword and runs out. Well, as he's running out of the courtroom, you actually see the blade still glowing and glowing blue. And so they go after him. Long story short, the party is hired to come in and actually go after him. They find out that Falric is not guilty of murder. The townsfolk do. And so the mayor is asking the party to go and not necessarily collect a bounty on Falric, but to go present him with a writ of release that he's no longer a suspect in the murder. They end up finding out that it's some other guy, local guy, that ends up killing this mage, Nurof Gaskell, I think is what his name is, or not.
Nurof Gaskell, that's funny.
No, but ends up killing off this mage that did a love potion that this guy wanted to buy from him, and the mage ended up using it himself on the same woman.
So here's a question, a trivia question. Mark, don't answer it.
Sure.
What class is he? Falric, right?
Mhm.
What class is he in that module? Let's see if anyone knows. Exactly, because it's a basic adventure. So
Yes.
basically, he's an elf, right? Yep, he's an elf. Elf is the class. So he's fighter mage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is what I adapted him to.
Right. Absolutely. But
Yep.
yeah.
Now the interesting thing is out of probably the dozen times that I've run it, it's happened twice where I've had parties actually offer him a spot as an NPC in the party itself.
Interesting.
That he takes them up on. And so it ends up being, once again, it has really, really good first level and intro types of things when you're introducing somebody new to the game. And because it has intrigue, it has some cursed items in it that you have to be careful of. It has traps in it. It has fighting that you actually do, but it also has some skills of just soft skills of being able to figure things out as well. So absolutely fantastic adventure. Like I said, it's in Dragon 92. I recommend anybody go take a look at it. You could adapt it for really any edition it is that you want, frankly.
Yeah, and once again, we don't run stuff over and over again if it sucks. It's good. It's a cool, intriguing murder mystery. I threw out a tidbit to Jason that we will see a Grey Elf fighter cleric mage in our adventure group Thursday night. Yes,
Absolutely.
we will. So, just like a Zumba.
Now, the second adventure that I like to run is also an actual D&D adventure. This is out of Dragon 50. And this also won an award for first place in the basic division at IDDC 2, which was an old, it's no longer in existence anymore, but it was a conference that used to be run a very, very long time ago, back in the 80s. But it is known as the Chapel of Silence.
There it is.
And it's a really, really great adventure as well that gives you the opportunity, once again, for kind of intrigue, as well as figuring things out. So it's a good secondary adventure. It tests the mettle of your players to see if, instead of just being like, and I always say, new players are generally, they're like kids at a soccer game that all, they're all running to the ball at the same time. Like everybody wants to get involved, so they're all running to the same fight.
Yeah.
And this is really great adventure too, because it allows you to have different players interact in different ways. The interesting thing is if you happen to have a player and a character in it that likes to push some chaotic tendencies inside of what they do to just kind of mess with the party, it can also set the party up for TPK if they're not careful. But it is also a really, really great story. It has, I'm almost feeling like I'm Peter Falk from The Princess Bride, fencing, fighting, giants, and so forth in describing it. But it's also a really, really great adventure as well. Is also for your romantics, has a love story that is in it as well. Tells a fantastic story behind it as far as a couple that are basically ghosts that have been there. And also, the interesting thing is at a very low level, introduces a ring of 3 wishes in the mix.
Oh, and that's where he got those wishes that he's been using occasionally.
That's where that one comes from. So, I'll tell a story in this. So, Interestingly, one of my players is at the time, he's now a shield thane, but was just a dwarven fighter, and had a pretty decent armor class, and basically needed to the creature that was attacking him just needed to critically hit him in order to hit him at all. And so he was, kind of getting a little smug. And sure enough, he was like, yeah, he needs a critical to hit me. And sure enough, I rolled a critical. And he ended up losing his arm at the elbow, his shield arm, or his weapon arm at the elbow. And he managed to get it back because of that Ring of Three Wishes. And the character that was in it, the chaotic character, is the one that actually has the ring. And made a wish that that he agreed to, that basically if he is within earshot and hears the term slap, he will drop what he's doing at the time and literally slap himself in the face, about 50% power, which is really, really funny when it happens. Unfortunately, they kept doing it during combat. So like right before he would swing and roll a 20-sided die, you'd have about 5 people at the same time all yelling slap, slap, slap. So so he has some bad memories of the Chapel of Silence, honestly, but the adventure itself is fantastic. So I once again, you can adapt it for any version it is that you wish. It is a D&D basic adventure, but it translates very, very well for other versions as well.
So for me, I've never run Sword of Justice at all, because I knew that was like one of your mainstays that you liked. I just never ran it. I don't know why, but it just never came up in my campaign. As far as Chapel of Silence, oh, by the way, Sword of Justice, Dragon 92. Okay.
Yeah.
Chapel of Silence, I ran as adventure number 143. By the way, most of these adventures are going to be in my first 200, if maybe 1 or 2 are slightly above 200. But, we're at 855, guys. So we're talking about how early on this is. So Chapel Silence is in Dragon 50. That's by Molly Plants. And Sword of Justice is by John Matson. Give them credit. They're both D&D basics. And Nicholas, I'll say this once again. There's, it doesn't. You can convert these to 5e if you're a 5e player. Us being so old school and always be 1e, 2e till the day we die. I'm saying at this point, with all the customization we have, it's these all just because the module's not written in that mode. I mean, these basics weren't written in advanced D&D for us. It's just pretty easy to convert. I don't think it'd be that hard to convert them to 5e. I think that your biggest problem would be spellcasters, maybe, but I don't think it would be that big of an issue to do. So and a lot of these were very, they got a lot of flavor and they got a lot of fun stories in them, but they weren't written so intricately that there's a mess on the everyone knows what I'm talking about. 4E modules were a mess. I mean, you had like this size on a page for an encounter with 2 goblins, right? Of all this crap you didn't need on there. And like, what's this? All I need to know is a line and a half. Armor class, hit die, attacks, damage, right? Hit points, and any special defensive abilities. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need all this other stuff. And that's the way these modules are. So I don't think you'd have a problem with clutter. So, I'm saying a point there, Grendel. It's just, these editions are not, they're completely basically written. I don't think you have any problem with it, which is cool. And that's why we wanted to show people these, because I know a lot of people are looking for content, that you could get, out there. Yeah.
I'll add to it too. If you have a bunch of experienced players, because you're doing something that is a little bit dated, it will give you the ability, like with a lot of times with experienced players, they concentrate so much on the game mechanics, they forget about some of the common sense things that you would normally do as well. There's a situation that arises in one of the first 3. I don't remember which one, but just the concept of, if there's you're taught as a kid, if there's a fire in the building it is that you're at, just touch the door to see if it's warm. Okay, and then Well, most players nowadays, especially, like us, we don't do any of that kind of stuff. You just, big deal. You open up the door, there's a fire on the other side. So what? 80% of us have rings of fire resistance anyway, so we'll just trudge through it, sort of a thing. That's what heroes do. But it really does give your players the opportunity to really see, how they would think of different types of ways of dealing with problems, which is one of the main reasons why I love playing D&D. It really has nothing to do with just the game per se. It's all of the troubleshooting and things that you actually learn, and
Yep.
you can take into real life as well. Just the methods that you use.
Seeing people solve a problem, whether it's by brute force or by guile or by intellect, is always pretty cool. Seeing individuals tackle it differently is even more cool.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in different methods of different players. Players have a different style, and you can feed them right. And we talk about this, and Tim's not on yet. Hopefully he will get on, but I'm going to beat him up a little bit. As an example, Carlos's first module, right? I knew exactly what Tim was going to do with his character and go ahead of everyone, and I set the traps up so boom that he, but I knew it. So you play to your character's strengths and you play to your character's weaknesses sometimes, and that's what's so cool about it. And that's why I'm going to hold off on one or two of these because we got some fun stories with him. Hopefully he'll be able to pop on. But if he doesn't, then we'll get back to him. So let's do. And this is a Jason one. Jason brought this one up, and I said, "Oh, I love this one." So let's talk. Let's go to one of the first ones we have here. Let's talk about this one. All right, here we go. The Halls of Bael'dor. Okay, this is an old. It's out of Dragon 41, so it is old. All right, and it was. It's by. Did I even put that down? There's 4 people that wrote this one. And they're all written down on there. Right in the notes at the beginning of this one. Yeah, there you go, Jason. Absolutely. Right in the great combat, high level monsters. There's a giant in it. There's a lot of it's a dwarven. It's like an old dwarven fortress that has been overtaken in a volcano. It kind of sounds like White Plume Mountain, but it's not. It's but it's got a feel to it with the volcano, like that. There's fissures everywhere. But I liked writing the notes. It says that you have a problem with this adventure, and the problem is that if you're running a dwarf or only adventure, you won't have a cleric because you can't have a PC cleric dwarf. So you may have to have an NPC join the party, which I found. Do you remember that in the player's handbook? All the elves, dwarves, they couldn't be PC clerics.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, I barely even remembered that. And it said that. It says that right in the adventure, which I found cool.
Oh, yeah.
And there's all sorts of traps, and there's a lot of mass combat. There's everything for like there's a picture of the fire giant there. So, yep. Thank you, Gaetano, Dave Luther, John Nats, Dave Nielsen, Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for posting that. But it'll show the baddie at the end. So,
well, we should explain. So, for
ahead.
those of you that this is strictly a 1E.
Dave Schultz and hockey, yeah, that's funny.
Strictly a 1E decision. So, if you actually look at the player's handbook in 1E, it's true. The only races that could actually be clerics were half elves and humans. And if you went by the racial maximums, a half elf could only be up to a 5th level cleric.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it made zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
That you could do that, because they're all going to have their own deities and so forth. And that was one of the restrictions I'm glad came off when Unearthed Arcana came off out of the mix.
Yeah, it was a jumbled. It was a lot of early rules. It just didn't make sense. I think that because it had a basic feel to it, because you had the cleric, you had and
right.
It just. I think that's where that came from. I never understood that because, you were really limiting yourself but then again, you could be multi-class.
Yep.
There was weird. It was crazy. It was crazy rules. So that's a great idea, Jason. I'm glad you put that in. Like I said, I want questions and input from everyone. You link this to G3 Hall, the Fire Giant King. That's a great idea because it is in the volcanic area. Put it right in Greyhawk, right in the Hell Furnaces. Fantastic idea to do that. That level on that one is a little. I got the notes on it right here. Um,
It doesn't say. I
it
don't
doesn't
think.
say at all, does it? No, it does not say levels. I'm saying, I bet you 7 to 10. Jason,
Yeah.
what do you think? 7 to 10 for levels. I think that's where I'd probably place this.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 to 9. But a really cool one. I ran it at number 204. Okay, so I did run this one. And 8th level, it says on the first page. Okay, cool. So it's right in there.
Missed it then.
Yeah, another good one, and you can pull it right out of that Dragon 41. So it also has, it's 3 levels. So if you like dungeon crawls, there's 3 full levels on this one. So you're not going to go through this in 2 sittings. It's a long adventure.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the longer ones I've seen published in Dragon. Not talking about the dungeon ones, but the Dragon ones. So 3 full dungeon levels on this one. So I liked it, and I can't see back then. I only put down the adventure. I didn't log the adventuring group or the characters in the adventuring group unless it's specifically in my timeline. So I don't even remember the characters that ran on that. Oh no! Blake, have you looked up there? It's in there. It's in there. It's one of my favorites of all time, Blake. It's in there. It's coming up. It's got one of my favorite. All right, so that's Halls of Baildor, a great one for you. Once again, if anyone needs help getting any of these, if you have a specific one, we can help. I'd be more than happy to help you out getting them. So since Blake brought that up, let's skip ahead here. All right. Not that these are in any specific order, but I tried to make them in some kind of order here. All right. Okay, there's the School of Necros that Blake Ryan is talking about. Okay, this is right on the cut because it's a fairly recent module. This is, the students are dying to study here. This is out of a dungeon. So this is the first one that we have that's pulled out of a dungeon. Dungeon 27. I think I ran this twice. The first time I ran this was adventure number 102. Okay, so it's really early. I put the dungeon up there because it is one of my top 3 favorite covers from a Dungeon or Dragon ever. I mean, look at that. It's just a great depth, picture. You got an evil necromancer, hot, of course, right? Necromancer up there doing something with some kind of skeletal dragon in the background. Here are pictures from it. This one is kind of really disturbing a little bit. You have an entire coven of necromancers. Now this is 2E, but it fit in with us even better because we have a class. So it's not just a spherical class, or we actually had the necromancer class at the time. This, it's one of our first classes I ever made. And there's a School of Necros built into the side of basically a large hill. So it just worked perfectly. There's intrigue and backstabbing, and they're all trying to screw each other over. And then there's this really nasty, it's not a Dracolich at the end, and I won't ruin it for you, but the picture, there's a brother and sister necromancer. There's a picture of her just sitting nicely with this thing in the end. So it's a really cool adventure out of a dungeon. And like I said, I loved it so much I ran it for a second time. And it's got a little bit of a higher level to it. Not too bad on level, but it is a challenge. But once again, if you don't have necromancers in 5e, I don't even know, guys. That shows you how devoid I am of knowledge on 5e. But it's all about necromancers. Just like Veil the Mage had those necromancers wandering through, remember, that were causing trouble in Veil the Mage, and Tislan San asked you to go deal with them. this has kind of got that. If you don't know what you're doing with necromancers, it's got that same feel. But if you know what you're doing with a necromancer class, or even in 2E with the spheres of them, you'll have a lot of fun. Do you remember that, Mark, at all?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. I think that might have.
Uh-oh. Mark, you
What?
still there? Oh, okay. I don't think anyone's having. I have no frames dropped at all. So
Okay, it could just be me.
yeah, okay. I think that was you. Veil of the Mage, Jason, was where you had all those. You had a whole coven of necromancers wandering through. It was an adventuring party, and they wanted you to deal with it. Okay, all right. Well, thank you for letting me know that. So I imagine that the School of Necros is adaptable, but it's really a themed adventure. There are no they have no wizards or anything like that. It's all they may have some multi-classers if I recall, but they have nothing else but necromancers in it. So it's kind of disturbing to the way that they're out to kill off each other. It's fun. It was fun. And the ending of it is pretty sinister. So I would highly recommend that one. Once again, it's out of Dungeon 27. So that's one of the earlier dungeon magazines, but that was a great one as well. So if anyone, thanks for that, for bringing that up, Blake Ryan, really appreciate it. But like I said, great minds think alike, right, man? We nailed that one. Oh, that's going to be our last one for the night right there, the one's popping up now. So Mark, how about you? What do you want to go to? I was hoping Tim would be on to hit the twofold talisman. So let's see. How about we do? Chagmad. I got another Tim story. How about we go to this one? All right. All right. Flip up here. Here we go. Twofold talisman. We'll skip. Hopefully Tim can get on. If not, then we'll talk about it. Both sides. Well, Tim again. We want to hold off on that one, and if he gets here. All right. I mentioned this, and I've given this. Rox has this. So hey, Duff, how are you doing? Rox has this one. This holds us. Whoops. I actually have the dungeon on this one right here. Whoops, I skipped through it. This one holds a special place in my heart, and I'm going to tell you it ties right into what we did on Thursday night. I built an entire nemesis against on this one. It's called the Crypt of Istaris. This is out of dungeon number 9. And I have all these publications, but a lot of them are buried. I couldn't find them. So the ones that I do have, I'll show you. There's dungeon 9. You've got a sticker on it. Dungeon number 9, and it says a mission with an unforgiving deadline. This is the first appearance ever. Oh, I lost Mark. All right. This is the first appearance. We'll wait for Mark to get back. We'll keep on going here. First appearance ever of the Dark Brotherhood in my campaign that I built an entire evil organization around. The gist on this one is that the Dark Brotherhood has taken a whole town hostage, and just want to check. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, Rox. There you go. Obviously, everyone can. It's on Mark's end. Yes, they've taken a whole town hostage, and if they don't pay the ransom, they're going to basically destroy the town in a certain amount of time. It's a good adventure. Whoops. Let me see here. I'm going to text him and see what happened. Let's see if I can get him back. It's a really cool premise behind it. Here he comes. Yeah, it was probably on your end, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it was probably on your end. So, we're talking about the Crypts of Istaris right now. All right. Okay. Yeah, kind of a little bit, but I took it one step further beyond this, and the reason I bring this one up, Crypts of Istaris, is I love the way. First off, we were already using. This is another. Yes. Nicholas, I have every one. I have all of them. I have all the dragons. I have all the dungeons. I have the White Dwarfs, except for the one that Tim has. Tim has the White Dwarf 18 in physical. I don't have that one in physical. And I will have the special one that we're going to talk about at the end coming to me finally after all these years. I found a copy of it. So yes. So back in the day, and we talked about this a long time ago. What were the first two deities used in the World of Greyhawk campaign by Gary Gygax? Let's see, Mark, if anyone knows that question. The first two deities that they used in an adventure by Gary Gygax. You are correct on one of them. Thor is one. Nope, it's Thor and someone else. It's Thor and Odin, Will. You're absolutely correct. So, before they even made up deities for Greyhawk, they used Thor and Odin in an adventure. And then when they put out that deities and demigods, I don't know how many articles of the Greyhawk deities were out. Well, we were using the deities and demigods book really before we were using a lot of the Greyhawk deities book. We really had an affinity for the Finnish deities, which we still use to this day. Leviator is nasty baddie in our campaign, right? Ukko is a very Ilmater, right? And Heisi, the god of evil, was featured in this Crypts of Taurus adventure. I was thinking this fits right into our campaign, man, because we're already using the Finnish deities a lot. Why not? I'm going to incorporate this in, and that's what I did. So Makarash had already existed, my evil antithesis at the time. I just had slid him kind of into this organization that, he was the leader of the army, he's a general, but they had these behind-the-scenes organization, the Dark Brotherhood, and I've run with it ever since. Then I got away from it probably about 20 years ago, and I just decided about 2 months ago to bring it back. And that's all the characters that they fought on Thursday night were all Dark Brotherhood members from antiquity. The Bitch, Leo McMichael, Sir Twix, they were all members of the Dark Brotherhood. So the Dark Brotherhood was basically behind everything, but I took that right from a Dungeon magazine adventure and just ran with it with the idea. So it's a good chug, yeah. So the idea I'm trying to tell of everyone is I'll answer your question, Nicholas, in a second, by the way, on that broadsword. That you can find up an idea in an old module or adventure. You ask a couple questions around. You don't get on Discord, get on Greyhawk Online Discord, and ask, "Hey, does anyone know about this? Anyone running with this? Is there any published sources behind this?" And then run with it, man. If you like the idea behind it, that's exactly what I did. Well, beyond that, there were no published sources at all. So I just ran with it and made it my own, and that's where we are today after 39 years. So. Mark, have you done that with any of your campaigns? I mean, you did it right. You put Sean Emil right into something. Why don't you tell that story real quick? Because this is another idea. This is in reverse, guys. I want you to hear what he did. This is a great idea. So
I took what was known as Siege of Bordrin's Watch, and in that one, they're going to a dwarven monastery, if you will, or dwarven training grounds for clerics. And effectively what I had done was in it there was an actual shrine to some dwarven heroes, if you will. And to incorporate it, because Jay and I are going to be doing some crossover events between Slap and some other stuff on our Thursday night, I incorporated Shlem Emil as one of the main dwarven fighters that was listed as a hero and actually has a statue in it of him. It also gave them the opportunity to the dwarven fighter that was there to render himself as a shield thane. So he said a prayer at a specific dwarven statue for a fighter, and this fighter ended up handing over to him a magical dwarven thrower. And which also helped convert him into becoming a shield thane. So there's things that even though we're talking about adventures that are pre-designed, you obviously have the opportunity to tailor them however it is that you need to for your own campaign, for your own needs.
Absolutely, and that's the great point. Is one Mark to tell that story was he took the module, and it was a 4th edition, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4th edition.
He took a 4th edition module. Which one was that? Siege of Bordrin's Watch. He took that 4th edition module, converted it back for us, and then inserted Walt's Dwarven Fighter into the basically the story plot line and the whole history behind the Dwarven Citadel, right?
Yeah.
And that linked in that character into what Mark's doing, and Walt's actually was playing that guy on Thursday night for the last 4 weeks, Shlomo Meal. So that's the whole thing, and that's what he did. Was he created? I'm not saying legitimacy. He created flavor and he created storytelling of the campaign. That's how you grow the campaign. Is that this links to that, right? It could be an obscure link, but it links to it, and now you have a little bit of a connection, and then all the connections create. It's like your brain creates a network, right? And then before you know it, you have 19 adventuring parties. I'm just saying as an example. And then everyone's talking about, oh wow, yeah, he was in the adventure I was in. I'm just using that as a great example of how Mark linked up an ancient character, and Shlomo Meal goes back before, goes way back, and he was. And anyone see the entry screen we did on the Comet? All right, so I got a ton of people on. I'm going to show you what I mean. It's 30 seconds, okay? We are going to run something that's 2 minutes long at the end of the night, though. Very special. But I'm going to show you something real quick. For those of you who are... All right. This is kind of a joke. This is for next week's 50th Gabbin show. Exactly, Naz. You got it. The Nerf comet is in the sky. All right. So Mark put that together real quick for me. Yes, Mark put for next week for our 50th ever. We're up to 50 shows. Thank you, Mark. Give Mark a hand there. So the Nerf comet. So that goes into another adventure. The character Shlomo Meal had to hit the Nerf comet, and I had to do it. So, what is the Nerf comet, you ask? Well, we're going to tell you why I had to do that with one of the adventures we're going to. Yeah. No, it un-Monty Hall's characters. That's basically as quickly as I can say it. It un-Monty Hall's characters.
Like doing a Mordenkainen's disjunction around the entire world.
Yeah, kind of, but I pick and choose what gets disjoined. Yep. Yes. So Iklas, I will look at that again.
The part is that if you would have looked a little closer, what happened Thursday wouldn't have happened.
See, I don't know if a scabbard of raging enemies is that overpowering, though.
Yeah.
It was just a basic saving throw fail. It wasn't a no save deal, right? So, but once again, no matter how prepared you are as a DM, you have to make sure that if you give out an item, you have to be prepared for the consequences of giving out that item. Yep. So, and a scabbard of raging enemies changed the entire fight on Thursday night for their good. So that I'm not upset about. But Leo McMichael, the evil archer thief who turned on the party in the Temple of Elemental Evil back in 1986 in our time, killed Ace Broadhead with an arrow slaying because he failed his saving throw, and then came up to create more havoc. He took him right out with one fell swoop with that because he was enraged, and he wasn't about to flee being enraged. So, yes, Adam, next week is 50, and we'll announce what we're going to do for next week's 50th show.
Well, and Jay, considering what you just said about one item can change stuff, that may be a really good segue, I think, to get into the one adventure that you have sworn you will never, ever, ever run.
And we're talking that it's two adventures. Actually, it's 2 parts.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, since Tim has not responded, I wanted him here for this one, but let's do it. All right. So here we go. This is out of White Dwarf 4950, and I actually have those. We're going to save that one for one of the last ones. All right. The Keys of Tirandor. It's actually the Key of Tirandor. All right. So here we go. White Dwarf 49, White Dwarf 50. Each one has them in there. We'll start with 49 here. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, a high-level adventure. The reason I put this in is because I'm never going to run it. So, well, Stream's lost? Try refreshing, Jason. I don't think we lost. Mark, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
It did skip, but I thought that might have been me again.
Yeah. Hey, Anna. I think we may have. There we go. Okay. All right. I think we may have just skipped. There we go. Okay. All right. It was a hiccup. That's all.
Yep.
It lagged out. Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks. All right. I will. Okay. I will not run this ever. Okay. Thank you. Freaking Twitch. I'm telling you. I can't upgrade my I can't upgrade my service anymore. Without spending like $250 a month. So okay, you got it. That's cool. Twitch is acting up. That's Duff knows his deal. So the Keys of Tirandor is very simple. This is a module and adventure series you want to run if you have a party of adventurers. You want to get them retired. Okay. Now you're gonna say, well, why? What is all about that? Now, first of all, it's British. It's very old, and if you take a look, some of the pictures are up for it. Those pictures remind you of what in the upper right-hand corner? What publication?
Oh, easily Fiend Folio.
Yes. So the artists for this were Fiend Folio artists because it looks almost identical, which is cool. So so we're looking at White Dwarf 49 for the beginning. So you have to find the lost city in the first part. Okay, not too bad. It's basically almost like a hack and slash through that. You have to go on the Great Sea and locate this. And there's wood demons, all sorts of crazy stuff. Yes, and it is such small print. You're like, what? I mean, really, this probably should be 20 pages, and it's like 6. All right, part 1. Now, part 2 is where it gets really nasty because once you find the lost city, then you're gonna, with the key, you're going to go through the special gates, and there's hall. It's like Monty. This is the Monty Hall adventure of Monty Halls because there's doors all across with all different sorts of decisions to make at the door.
The 8 paths of life and the way of death.
That's exactly it, Mark. Yes, there's 8 paths, and here are the paths. All right, let's see here. Path of wrath, path of love, path of ease,
path of wealth,
path of might, path of song, path of politics, the way of glory, the way of victory in battle, the dark way of death. So at the end, your character has to pick one and go through, or you're just going to stand there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what happens as you step through the door at the end can put your character out of the campaign permanently. And there's one that is so nasty that not only does it give you all these other things, but it adds +2 to every stat.
Yep.
Now, think about that in AD&D. So if you, so now Bill understands and Tom understands why the comet has come for a lot of Walt's characters, particularly Lena, Britomart, and Schlemmen Meal.
Yep.
Because they had to, because it's just, this adventure is nasty. Now, I bring it up because it's good. It's very well written. It's a cool idea. You don't want to run this for characters that are not finished with their campaign lives, unless you want to make some serious changes to it. I mean, Mark, what do you think about it? Since you've run it.
Yeah, I ran it once many years ago. And, essentially it can really imbalance a campaign very quickly. Especially if you choose the last one, because not only is each stat added to +2, but your prime requisite is instantly brought up to the highest that it can be. So if it's a fighter, for instance, you become 1800 right out of the gate. And then on top of it, you gain 3 levels Your charisma is increased to 17 or +2, whichever is higher. You gain a cloak that functions as a robe of eyes and acts as if it was +2 plate. I mean, it
I'm
is
sorry.
extremely nasty. And if you're a wizard, you get what they call Staff of Wizardry, which you can make if you wanted to make it like the Staff of the Magi or Staff of Power. I've seen alterations where it was actually both, because considering the Staff of Wizardry, it was both of those combined. Yeah, it just gets way, way, way out of hand.
So my suggestion is look through it, and if you have a group that they're in 5e 20th level, and you want to put them through something that will end, and it may not end them in a bad way. I mean, some of them will retire or to luxury or whatever. It's a good module for that.
Yeah.
It's not a good module for your main characters in your campaign without some serious alteration. So that's why.
So just as an understanding, like the first one, which is the Path of Wealth, you can basically inherit like one of them. If you choose the green path for wealth, a man knocks at your door and enters. He's a clerk. A distant, hitherto unknown relation has died, leaving the player an estate worth 150 million gold. And you're raised 2 levels.
Minor thing. So,
Minor. 150 million. Okay.
It's those Brits.
It's only, what, 30...
I don't even know the calculations, but you get the idea what we're saying.
Yeah.
Is be reasonable. Hey, I would love to see someone out there run it in 5e, convert it, and have it, but for me, it's not on my list. I've never published it. I've never done it as a an Order of Violet campaign series adventure, and it's not going to happen. So I am out of all of the ones I have that I'm going to show here. So I'm going to drop this off, if you don't mind, and I'm going to do a quick. I'm going to sneak peek. I think. So let me put this webcam back. There we go. Okay. So. One more time, it is Mark. Can you type that in for Naz? Because Naz always is up for a challenge. And Naz, we'll get it to you. Okay, I'll get it to you. And I would love a report. And maybe yes, and it's out of White Dwarf 49 and White Dwarf 50. Okay, so I'm gonna sneak peek. Everyone, I'm traveling a lot for my work, my real life work this week, so I had to really prep for Thursday. So I already have all the picks up for the new adventure we're going to be doing on Thursday, which is called Awakening at Radiant Fork, and it's a great Anna Shieldlands map. Anna, we're in the Shieldlands for the first time, so let me pop this up and let this run in the lower right hand corner. Alrighty. So let me go to the slideshow here. Okay, let me just get it running. So boom, boom, boom. That way we have this progressing through a little bit, so you can see. Yes, and Jason brings up a great point, and there's a lot others there. So we've talked about Keys of Tirandor. We have another one that I'd love to talk about that I don't know much about, and maybe Jason can help us with this one if Tim does not come on and he's not responded, so it appears he will not be on tonight. But we have 2 out of White Dwarfs, and that's one of them, and the other one's Halls of Tees and Thane. Now, another one that I've not run it, but Tim has run multiple times, so that was the Tim one that we decided to do. So, okay, we're getting through there. And guys, like I said, we've had some good input. Really, I appreciate it. Naz, hey man, if you're up for the challenge, go for it on that one. But let's keep the questions coming and keep the suggestions, because I know there's more than this. I wanted to keep it in the 80s for the most part. So early on, real early stuff, but I know there's a ton of stuff late 80s, early 90s that we just haven't even touched, and there's going to be a lot more coming. So let's talk about A Rose for Talacara, which is up. All right. Now, this one is out of another dungeon, Dungeon 25. Really, really kind of a sad story, but kind of typical story about a megalomaniac taking control. That's a good question, Nicholas. I'm going to take that right now. Yes, it's not the death. I think he's a skeleton warrior, Blake Ryan. I don't think he's a death knight. I think he's a skeleton warrior. So thank you for that, Neoplatonic. I'm going to ask. Nicholas has a great question. I want to, since we got time.
Yep.
When we started playing early on, we had a box. Now you always got Ralph Parthers, and Ralph Parthers, all things dark and dangerous, and monsters and Rathams and all this stuff. Where you got crappy little monsters that just did they look like someone melted the figures. You've all seen them, the old Parthers or whatever. So we had a box and that was our box of monsters that we used for every encounter, and that was called the fishy box. Basically, Mark still has it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Mark has the box. So we would have a mat with maybe some markers on it and have it out, and you see this a lot now, and that's a great way to play, and a lot of streams play that way to this day, which is cool. So it started hardcore with, we always had figures, always had painted figures since day one. You always had to have a painted metal mini of your characters, and we still have that rule to this day. PCs have to have a painted figure. And we prefer metal. I mean, some of them are done because they have customized, now 3D printed, but we don't have about 3 to 4 of those. We still have all of them are painted metal midis. I'd say the date on that we really went hardcore would be when I moved from the house in Lindenwold to Stratford. And I got the phenolic board that we sit on the tables. They're 2 4x8 pieces of 1/2 inch thick phenolic core that my company makes to this day, and it's super. I mean, you can't put a bullet through it. It's that phenolic is like hundreds and hundreds of sheets of paper. So you're looking at 94, 93, 94, maybe a little bit earlier than that was when we really started with switching over, but hardcore was 2000 when the Miniature Building Authority started coming out with buildings, 2000, 2001, and I started buying Miniature Building Authority. So that's the date. So we've been doing this for a long time that way, but it evolved. And then we had GeoHex. The GeoHex goes back to the early 90s because we used it for BattleTech first.
Yep.
Then we used it for afterwards. Then we said, I can use this for D&D. So that's the date. I would answer that question. So yes, a Rose for Talacara is a yes. Nah, man, it's cool. Thank you. Really appreciate your interest. It's an adventure that you're basically almost getting led by your nose, but it's I love the story in it. It was a tragedy story. The other tragedy story that I think of when I think of a Rose for Talacara is on our Wall of Fame, Ravager of Time, because that is a huge. But she's like both of the antithesis in both Ravager of Time, the UK module, and Rose for Talacara. They're both crazy megalomaniacs, right? They just are as evil as it gets. So basically, the gist of this is that the wizard, and she's super high level. It's right after this. There it is. Okay, there's a pic on it. She's super high level, and you're basically being led by this skeleton warrior who's imprisoned by her. I believe he was an old school, like they were together a long time ago, lovers, but now he's enslaved to her, and he's looking for any way to survive and get out of this to become unslaved. So and there's a picture of her. Oh, she's so beautiful and pretty and all, but she's so evil. So you have an evil that she's like a 19th level mage. So be prepared for some tough fights in this one. But you have to have to deal with the evil antithesis who wants to seek immortality at the end of it. And then doing, you can get his circlet and get him released from his curse. And there's a picture of the skeleton warrior who's cursed. Cool module, cool adventure. I ran it. It was number 99. So I ran this one. I ran a Rose for Talacara right before I ran School of Necros. Rose for Talacara was 99. School of Necros was 102. Ran them real close to each other, and that just shows you how long ago it was run. Mark, do you remember either one?
I do not.
Okay.
Neither one of them sound familiar to me at all.
But I put them in there as my later series, not going very, very early, because they're the only 2 out of dungeon. That's not true. There's 1 more out of dungeon, 2 more out of dungeon. Crypt of Astars out of dungeon, and 1 more out of dungeon. So, Mark, is there any that I don't have published down or listed down? I know we got a couple more to go over that you want to talk about.
No, I mean the other ones that we actually have that we have in our notes for tonight. Yeah, I don't know really any of the others. So
okay, we'll go over this next one. We're gonna still save the Twofold Talisman because it's a long discussion on that one. Chagmat. Okay, now Chagmat is another one. This one I've told the story multiple times. Chagmat by Larry DiTillo. It's a low level, but it says levels 1 to 4. I would not put a first level character on it.
No.
This I don't remember that one. What's that out of, Blake? Yeah, Chagmat was an adventure that was the first adventure that Tim's uncle Steve I went to and ran, and it sticks out in my head because I met Luke that night, your uncle.
Yep, my brother-in-law.
Yeah, I'm sorry, brother-in-law, my bad.
Yeah.
I met Luke that night. I met Jack, the guy who sold the stuff, remember?
Yep.
Jack and F that night. I met the guy who used to make Griffin Games, the cases, that night. I met him that night. I met all these people that I didn't realize how hardcore they were into D&D. And that's the night that Tim, the very first thing he ever said to me was, do you think with a dagger you should get 2 attacks per round because of the speed factor of it? So that's this night. So he ran, his uncle Steve ran Chagmat that night. Now it's out of Dragon number 63, I believe. Yep, Dragon 63. I ran it late. Adventure 208. I ran Chagmat. So and there was all sorts of there was a bunch of women that were kidnapped from a town. And there was also these mirror rooms and teleporters and all sorts of stuff. Cool, but I'm gonna check on that one because I just do a quick search on my listing. I don't think I ran that one, but you never know. And it turns out there are these spider people here, and I thought that these would catch on as a monster, like a humanoid version of a spider. But that really, besides a Drider, never caught on where they had multiple arms. You can see in that picture there. So that adventure sticks in my mind because it's low level, it's out of Dragon, it got some awards, and it was the first time I played with Walt, I played with Tim that night, and I played with all these people, that Mark was associated with, that Tim and John were associated with, and it was, first time I played with adults. And I was a freshman in high school. I ended up playing with a bunch of adults that night. It was kind of cool.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it actually because I heard the aftermath of that story, and I didn't realize, I had never connected the dots until many years later that it was you. That Luke and company were extraordinarily upset with you.
Oh, because I hit someone?
No. Because in Chagmat there is, if it's the adventure it is, I think it is, has the one-armed.
Oh, Akron Ahio. Yes.
Akron Ahio.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
As the one-armed fighter that they had deemed that was really annoying and so forth, and didn't want him to go along. And you said, "Yeah, sure. Why shouldn't he come along?" And the answer was, "Okay, he comes along," which really pissed off everybody.
Because I said that. Wow.
Said it. Yeah. Because
wow.
You said it. It went with what story that Steve actually wanted. Tim's uncle Steve wanted.
Well,
they were all playing barbarians, if I remember correctly, as well. It was like when the barbarian had first come into the Dragon Mag.
Of course, I'm checking on Baron's iRead just to see if I ever ran it, and I don't think I did.
So it was an intro into a whole bunch of barbarians,
Nope.
and so they thought, well, we're going to be smart about this, and so they took this guy, they tied him up and left him at the bottom of the mountain, and when they got to the top or something, he was there, and they were like, how? He was tied. Oh, he got loose.
Yeah, with one arm.
He got loose.
An old man. Yeah.
And how in the world did he get up the mountain? A one-armed man got up the mountain. They were so bent out of shape about that whole situation. So
Yes. Barbarians were in style then.
yes,
Because they just come out they just come out. I don't even think Arcana was out. I think it was
no,
pre-Arcana.
no. It was still out of the Dragon magazine.
Yeah, it was Barbarian. Yeah, it wasn't
Yep.
Arcana, Barbarian yet. So wow, that's going back away. But that one that brings back a lot of memories, and that's why I wanted to put that one in there. Was that I wanted to pay homage to Tim's uncle. Unfortunately, Tim could not make it. It appears that he will not be making it on with us tonight. So hey, it's all good. So that was Chagmat. So a cool one. Here we go. So we'll go to another one here, and we're gonna call this one. We're gonna call this one "Be Prepared for the Worst." All right, and this one's called The Wounded Worm. I highly recommend this one. We still got that one to discuss. We discuss that one. Here we go. It probably was right where I was. The Wounded Worm. Surely a crippled dragon is less dangerous than a healthy one. This one's out of Dungeon 8, a very early dungeon. And yeah, there were going back to Chagmat, they were Chagmats. That's the whole thing. They were a monster that never caught on anywhere. That it was its own race, but they weren't any of those, like Ryan. They were its own monster created in that adventure. So it was kind of like spider people almost when you think about it. So the Wounded Worm is interesting because it puts a dragon that has like no wings and no way to get around a severely damaged one, and it's in a lair. And that picture you would think is, well, wow, it's a black dragon. That's a picture of a black dragon. Well, that's not the Wounded Worm. That's another one that's not wounded in this one. Oh, Dungeon was so great, man. Jason, I agree 100%. Dungeon was fantastic, especially the early issues. And there's a lot more I would like to talk about. We wanted to limit it to like 12 because we didn't want to, we didn't know how long it would take. So, but this dragon's in an underwater lair. Okay, so the lair's underwater, especially, I think it was a special magical place. I think it teleported you in. But this is the story of don't ever take your main spellbook on an adventure with you. Okay? So, and I always warn my players, and once again, some of them tend to want to stretch things. So we have the traveling spellbook rule. If you don't know what that is, and I really never really discussed it, but in first, second edition, you get back a certain limited number of spells per night. So a lot of characters with a traveling spellbook, they get to have another copy of their main spells, and they take this traveling spellbook with them. First, second, third level, you can have 6 spells total of any combination of levels, and then fourth, fifth, and sixth is 4. And then 7th and 8th is 2, and then you can't have any 9th in the traveling. So Alan's, she was only an illusionist at the time. Mistis is like, well, I'm going to take my whole spell book. What are the chances of anything bad happening? Okay, you want to take your spell book? That's fine. Perfect. Take your whole spell book. That's fine. You want to take travelings. You have limited spells. Be my guest. And so, you got to prove a point here. So this is a wounded dragon. It still has its breath weapon, fire, and he's like, "I'm prepared." Well, he's like, "If it's a red dragon, I'm prepared. I have a what's that? Wand of flame extinguishing." So she's even ready. She's even ready to stop this thing, assuming it's a red dragon. He's going in assuming that bad, fire-breathing dragons. She gets in there. What happens, Mark?
Lost initiative on a 6-sided die.
Lost initiative. The thing breathes, and it's a lot of damage. She fails her save. She's in huge negatives. Damn, too bad. And guess what? Make your save, run your spell book. Failed. All her spells are gone. Lesson learned. So guess what?
Yep.
Never bring your main spellbook on an adventure in my campaign. Bring your traveling spellbooks. Yes, lost initiative. So there you go. So guess what? I don't think it's happened since that time. People learn to bring your traveling spellbook on an adventure. Leave your,
or if you're fortunate, you have a Bacchum's Blessed book.
yes, a Blockums or some other special item that really helps you out. Yeah, absolutely. Very good adventure, The Wounded Worm, dungeon number 8. Okay, I would highly recommend it, even if you don't want to abuse your players with it. But it's cool. It's fun, and it's a different challenge. Excuse me, but it's got a cool concept behind it. So another one that I would recommend. So I'm going through, and all right. Why don't we get to the big ones now? We have a couple left here, and we're going to do the one that I know nothing about, all right, other than it looked cool, and I'll give you a synopsis of what Tim did with it, okay? And I'm sorry, Jason, but maybe you could put some stuff in chat because it's one of your favorites. The Halls of Tees and Thane. It's from White Dwarf number 18. It's very old. It's a dungeon crawl. It's got a lot of levels in it, but I don't know that much about it to give a lot of information. This is going to be the special Tim one for tonight. We do have it up. I don't even know where I have it here. So, of course, I probably went past it already. Yeah. Okay. Rogues. All right. Well, that's good information, man. Thank you so very much. It's by Albie Fury. It's for 3 to 6. Now, I will say this: it's a mini module, 3 to 6 experienced players with character levels 1st or 2nd level. I read in your blog, Jason, you said putting 1st or 2nd level characters through this is insane because it's that difficult. Tim ran it for me ages ago. I don't remember much about it, so I didn't want to go in detail on it. But I'll say what he did on this one. Yeah, it's very deadly. He ran it for his daughter's airbender group of friends that he has, that small group he does. They actually are using that as their main base for their characters now. So they've actually used that in his campaign for his daughter's group, and which is kind of cool. So he's taking it one step further with that one. But it's one that it's super deadly. I knew those levels are way too low. But once again, it's another White Dwarf. It's our Brit one. So it's to the extreme. Anyone seen this picture to the right in the background of all the characters? Who's in the background there? Maybe Bill would know. Yeah. So that's the group for Thursday. Minus one character, which is coming up, will be coming in. So I wish I had more detail on it, but it was a set special discussion on Tim on it. So it's a big, okay. So it has a village, according to Jason, and a big wizard's keep. Good to hear. So so it's basically it's a full installation. It sounds like with a lot of functioning places, and I guess making a base out of it would be a cool thing in a future adventure. Sorry, maybe we'll come back to it another night if we do another one of these with Tim's on, and he can tell a little bit more on the story on that one. So, and if he hops on, we'll go back to it. I don't think he will be, though. All right. Let's go to the funnest one of all, right?
Yep.
And this one, to this day, has an effect on our campaign. It is out of multiple. It's a 2-parter, so it was out of 2 Dragon magazines, and it's the Twofold Talisman. Dragon 84 and 85. Okay, it was brought. I ran it adventures number 120 and 121, and if you want comedy, if you want jokes for the time frame, there's a joke in here that no one's going to get. Like, if I recall, there's the evil killer of plants named Watt, right? In the first one, and Watt is the bald guy who was Reagan's Secretary of the Interior. So I don't think anyone's going to get that joke. But and he could kill plants with his touch, if I recall. Yes, just it really delves deep into. But there's items galore, and the second one, the twofold talisman, the monks have Izod preppy shirts on. Yes, James Watt is in it. Absolutely rocks. There's also bugbears with mess with the best. Yes, there is a wand of defoliation in 1E. Absolutely, it's it's an item that gets used all the time, for better or for worse. Look, efficiency expert may help you with a executioner. There are bugbears wearing best with the best, die like the rest leather jackets. Those leather jackets, if you have an original in the campaign, which Garth Warmonger, who you saw on Thursday night, Alan's half-orc fighter cleric has, it's like worth its weight in gold. It's like a collector's item. It's like a status item in our campaign to have a mess with the best, die like the rest jacket. All right, so that's how deep this one goes. There's also the stuff like the Squeeze Me Teddy and Pookie the Bear and all these other little things that come out. And yes, those were the days of acting really silly in a D&D adventure, but it was a fun one. It had a purpose to it. Plus, it has one of the most iconic. There you go. There's a picture. One of the most iconic villains of all time, the legendary, and all he's called in is DV. If you can't figure that out, I'm sorry. You must really be having a rough day. So, yes, and you would hear the breathing too. So you heard breathing the whole time. So yeah, it was a really silly 2 adventures, but they were kind of cool. And plus, you got some really unique items out of it. I would recommend anyone running them. I love doing them. I don't want to go back to them because that's kind of like cliche for us now because we already have those items out there. Yeah, you always have. You don't want to give out any more of them because they're such a rarity now. I don't know who has them besides Garth.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Yeah, Garth I know there's a couple other characters who have them. But I know Garth is one of them. I know one of Walt's does too, I believe, and a couple others. But very well done. And Roger Moore put his hand on. He was the partial author of both of them, so they were written partially by Roger Moore. So his name is in on this series, which is cool. So neat adventures. Once again, 84 and 85 Dragon.
Well, and honestly, explain what the Squeeze Me Teddy is.
All right, so
since it's a very unique item.
Yes, Squeeze Me Teddy is a unique item. And that the Squeeze Me Teddy is the following. All right, so Garth has a bear, and you know how annoying when you're. This happens a lot of cartoons. You have this toy and you pull it and it says something stupid, right?
Yeah, like Woody from Toy Story.
Yeah. You squeeze this little teddy bear, and it says "Mommy." Right? That's all it says. So Garth can be an annoying character, as we all know, because he told everyone he banged Lady Ralta again on Thursday night, right? You all heard it. He's always talking about all his conquests, even though they're all fictitious and in his head. But that's the charm of Garth Warmonger, the half-orc. So there was another player we had, Garnett, and Garnett's moved away and hasn't been playing for years. But Garnett had this fighter mage named Iraq now. Yes, there. Tom remembers because Tom was there for this. Arachnow annoyed the crap out of Garth because Garth died one time in his entire career, and that was because what happened?
I don't.
Arachnow fumbled and killed him.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So yes, rocks. That's a good question. Well, and that brings up another. Hold that thought, rocks. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold it because we're going to discuss that later on in the night, definitely. So one time, and this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a D&D campaign ever. Arachnoid gets put down in the negatives, and you know that if you do not get your wounds bound, you go down a point around until you're -10, you die. So he's lying there. Garth comes up to him, stands above him, takes the squeeze me teddy, and just starts squeezing it right over him. Mommy, 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 mommy. Arachnoid goes down to -2, all the way down to -9. Garth casts Cure Light Wounds on him, puts him back up to whatever, lets him go all the way down to -9 again. Keeps on squeezing it. I mean, this is, to torture him. Did it a couple times. So yes, so the Squeeze Me Teddy has a big, in our lore of, of Garth Warmonger torturing people, and you also saw Garth with his brand. And another thing that Garth has, and we can discuss this, is that if he thinks you are not a honest fighter, after he kills you, he has a big P brand for, you get it, and he'll brand your forehead after you're dead. Like, he hates archers. That's why there are no arrow slits in his keep, right? None at all. He hates mages. He hates a lot of characters because he hates their fighting style. He respects cavaliers, fighters, anyone who charges into the fight. So there you go. That's an Alan Garth Warmonger story that Squeeze Me Teddy holds a place in comedy, as he wouldn't bind his wounds, but he took care of them. So there you go. Good story, funny. But all these goofy items start in the Twofold Talisman.
Yep.
It's the Heart of Light Part 1 and the Ebon Stone Part 2. One I would recommend you guys just take a look at, and like I said, no one remembers who the hell James Watt is, but there's a lot of other things that, DV never gets, rather Phantom-esque. So, I have one left. I know we're early tonight, but that's cool. I have one big one left, and this one I haven't run yet, but I'm going to. So, it is a lot of ones that didn't make the cut that would make a cut on a I got stuff bouncing over on a second time around. So we may do some more down the road, but this one, there was a magazine that came out. Which one? The Waterfall. I missed that.
Yeah, it was on the. Yeah, it was to my.
All right. So I want to make sure I went through them all. I thought I checked them all off. Was that too? Let me just check. I want to make sure I did them all. Crypts of Taurus. It's Crypts of Taurus, which we discussed early. All right. So the last one, which has a beautiful cover. There was a magazine that came out in the early 90s called Vortex. There was only 9 issues ever made. So if you do searches through RPGNet, it comes up as Vortex 1 through 9. Vortex number 8. I just went by it. The Hidden Temple of Erethnal. The Hidden Temple of Erethnal is like, oh, that sounds cool. It was a Greyhawk written adventure. So Bill Sashar Scorn and I are trying to find it forever. Couldn't locate it. And then here it is. So could not find this adventure anywhere. Couldn't find a copy of it. Couldn't find the Vortex number 8 anywhere. It's a beautiful cover of a dragon on it. It should pop up in a second on the lower. So we just were like, what are we going to do? I want to find this and see what it's all about. So before I really got involved in the Future of Greyhawk group in our Discord, Bill got in touch with Alan Grow, and I'm not sure if he got in touch with him on Facebook, or it may have been Facebook. So the Grow Dog had it. There's the cover of the Vortex. Had it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'd be more than happy to." So he sent it to Bill. So Bill actually got this adventure. Now I have just located a Vortex 8, so I actually have it in hard copy. It's coming. It didn't make it in time for the show, unfortunately. But Noble Knight Games actually had one for sale And so I bought it off them, and then they're shipping it, so I will have it. But so we have this. It's called Hidden Temple of Earthnol, and it ties into our entire campaign that we're doing with the at Winchester's Bulwark and across the Pomage, and with the armies of the Earthnol. And so we wanted to tie this in. So I'm going to be running this shortly. There he is. Look at that. We got him. Excellent.
Hey,
There you
Tim.
go. All right, beautiful. So we can go back to one. What's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Late $1 short.
It's okay. It's okay. We got some good. We can go back to teas and thing because I had no idea. So we're talking about the Hidden Temple of Earthnol now. Haven't run it. It's in Vortex number 8. It's for levels 2 to 5. I've been waiting to run it till a lot more of our characters in that group are 5th and 4th. It's kind of nasty. It's got 2 full dungeon levels, and it's basically a straightforward find it and kill it adventure, which my guys like to do. It does have something in there called the Seldarine Crystal, though. Kind of cool. And you will probably see us doing this. Depends on where it falls, and it could be within the next month, or it could be within the next 2 months. It just depends on all the adventures I want to get out. But I wanted to bring up one that I'm not going to give this one out until after I run it once, by the way. All right, so this is one I won't do. But once we're done running it, if anyone, then we'd be more than happy to share it. But so that's called the Hidden Temple of Earthnol. Thank you to Bill for finding it, and we're going to be running this one soon. It's going to be before or after Carlos's last module that he's written for us too. So Carlos Slicing has a third one for that group coming up, and I'm going to be running that one too. But I'm not sure which one I'm going to run first.
Tim's characters.
What's that?
It's called Kill Tim's characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm in at that point.
Yeah, that was such a crazy. Yeah, well, hey, but come on, Carlos. Carlos had to change his style a little bit for us for the third one, so that's what he said he would do, which is cool. Now, we got Tim. Tim, tell us about Tease and Thane for us, please.
Tease and Thane is it's kind of a low level, but it can be expanded. You can adjust it really easily. You're in the town. They shutter up the windows at night because the night things come out and they don't know what they are. So of course you go see what they are. And Tease and Thane was a high level mage that had a estate inside an old volcano. So the volcano had, was is dead, but it formed a crater lake, and he has his little manor house in there. And the night things are part of this evil. He was an evil wizard. He had a temple, and so when the moon comes through a window, it animates them, and they go out at night looking for. He would feed them sacrifices, but they're not around, so they go find their own and come back. So they look like statues during the day, unless the moonlight hits them. And then Teason is not even there anymore. He was executed by his bodyguard, and it's like a little convoluted way. Basically, his brother was trying to get rid of him because he's got 2 brothers. They both hate each other. One's an anti-paladin, and one's just an evil priest. And so you have these several little factions in this kind of ruined building. So you have a few slaves left, a few bandits left, and it's really pretty cool. I enjoy the heck out of that one.
And you ran it for me. I'm thinking you ran it for like Hawk and Gazumba back in the day.
Yes,
way back in the day. But tell everyone. I was trying to synopsize what happened with your daughters to the group you're doing with them.
Well, it's pretty neat architecture, and her characters are 2 pixies. So, and there's some humans in the group and things like that. So after they kind of cleared it out, they're like, I don't know, this is a pretty nice place. I can kind of, so they decided to move in. So they kind of renovated part of it, moved in. Fortunately, the iron golem that Tease and Thane had at the door was commanded to not kill people, but just to keep them from coming in unless they say the right words, which is take me to your master. So They just have him there. He's still there, but they have all the impression, looking like they're powerful places.
So no one ever killed the Iron Golem. It's still there.
Yeah.
Wow. Guess you need +3 weapons anyway, right?
Right. Basically, if you said, and part of the scam to get people in to kill off the bodyguard was this creature that if it kills someone, it'll eat their brain and then get their skills and memory for short periods of time.
Ah.
So the ploy was one of the brothers hired this assassin and was basically saying he's going to kill off his bodyguard. Teasman's going to kill off his bodyguard, but we want you to kill off the bodyguard first, right? And so the assassin fails. The bodyguard eats his brain, finds out this information, which is false, and then gets angry and decides, with his new assassin abilities that he just got from the guy, he kills Teasen, eats his brain, finds a lie, and goes totally insane with all the power. So he's kind of like
So
insane.
megalomaniac.
The wizard. It's insane, and he thinks he's a wizard, and he's also remorseful. So he's all messed up. So that's the only way that you can tailor his magic, what he knows, and how he uses it, so you don't kill a low powered group. Which I randomly did it. He's insane. He's going to cast random spells. So.
Like Wizard of Id.
Right. And that's the only way to survive. If you're not, if you can't take a 15th level wizard fireball, then.
Yeah, and that's what Jason Zavada said. It's very difficult for that level. So, and you really need to be careful as a DM to not ultra slaughter everyone. But that's good to hear that, and it sounds like they got through it, and now that's their base of operations, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What campaign setting are you using? Are you using a city state still, or are you using just a generic?
Using, actually, the Judges Guild.
Wilderlands?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. No, that's good, man. The old Wilderlands one, right?
Yeah.
Not the new one, the hardback. The old one with the hexes.
The old one with the hexes.
Oh, dude.
And the Temple of Doom, the Black Dark Tower is in its real spot out in the desert down south and west on the big giant map.
Did you start that yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh. So that's on our wall of fame, by the way. Everyone knows that Dark Tower's on there, and so Tim is running it for his daughter's group, and that's going to be a long time. It's a long adventure, especially if you put because you can make up minions of Set in that. You can make up the Sons of Set, and you can give them all sorts of crazy abilities and powers and multiple arms, all sorts of crazy stuff.
The Goody Two Shoes in the group already has the Heart of Law.
Oh, okay.
And then for.
It's a great one. It's my favorite Judges Guild of all time by far. More than the one with all the undead in it. Tegel Manor.
Really sick and twisted magicians in there, and so you
Yeah.
know, I have to give a hat tip to them to hey, give me some ideas.
Yeah, Alan always brings up the two doors fighting over the diamond in the middle. I'm like, that's one encounter, dude. That's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, it's just there's a door and they're yelling about the diamond in the middle, right? It's on one of the lower levels.
Pile of treasure in the middle, and each one is trying to convince the party to bring it closer to them.
To the door, yeah. So that's on our wall of fame. So this is what we're gonna do. All right, Tim. So I told about Chagmat. You were there that night with Akron Alhio, and how they tied him up and pulled him down. Remember, he got away and he climbed back up because that was one your Uncle Steve DM'd and the first time we met. So I put Chagmat up too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
See, you don't even remember that. So you, me, and Walt were in on that one. Yeah. So that's how far back that one was.
5 rings? Is that like that?
That was the one with the spider people and the women are being that was, and then Luke was there and Jack and F were there, and who's the guy who sold the cases? Dave, right?
Dave Martin.
Dave Martin they were all there. So I mean, I met some legends of the Haddon Heights area of D&D at that night. I didn't even realize it. So I know we have this list. Any of these you want to talk about that you come on besides Tees and Thane? You have the list here.
Bale Door. I also actually ran
Okay, good.
Bale Door actually for the same group, my daughter's group.
I like the salamanders in that and all. I think it's a challenging adventure, and it's kind of has a Lord of the Rings flavor to it. It's in a volcano. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It has to be. It's okay for if it's an experienced group. You don't have to revamp how the salamanders are arrayed. I would do it differently, but for a younger group, it's fun.
Right. Cool. See, you came on and you contributed. I appreciate that. So,
The brilliance in it, so you got to be careful.
yeah. Oh, is there a helmet brilliance in there?
2 of them.
2. Oh my God, man.
They are salamanders. Come on.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Nasty items. All right. Mark talked about Sword of Justice and Chapel of Silence. I know you had to. Yeah. So, either of those basic D&D ones, you want to put any contributing on them? I know Chapel of Silence.
Chapel of Silence. That's nostalgia. That's going way, way back.
Yep.
I mean,
Basic.
that's why when I heard Chapel of Silence, I'm like, oh yeah, just because of the nostalgia.
Yeah, that's one that it has a lot of traps in it, right? It has a lot of puzzles.
Yeah.
So that was a good one for that purpose. It wasn't just a hack and slash. You had to think your way out of it, if I recall correctly.
Cult in the basement.
Yeah.
Yes, and causes you to actually face a vampire. First and second level characters, and you're facing a vampire.
Yeah, and that
carefully.
Yeah.
And that could be a very nasty instance for that to happen to a low level character. It could scare the shit out of you.
Stay in the sunlight.
Yeah. So
stay in the sunlight. Yep.
So Tim, Mark and I just gave our list of entry adventures that we bring up brand new groups in. Do you have any that you like to do on a regular basis? Like Mark does in his order: Sword of Justice, Chapel, Silence, Citadel by the Sea. Then for me, it was In the Flesh or Kalaura's Lair, and then Citadel by the Sea for me. How about you? You have any in particular that you like, or your go-tos?
I like Salt Marsh.
Okay.
Sinister Secret, I like that.
Yeah.
I've only done the first one though.
Right, you don't go beyond the first one.
So,
okay.
That's what I know.
You can't go straight through those 3. Their levels scale up way too high. You can't do it. Yeah. Keep on the Borderlands was another one too. I know we wanted to stick to published to magazines, but Keep on the Borderlands is another one I love doing over and over again. So with that, but as far as magazines go, I try to think.
Hamlet's another one. Hamlet's another really good.
Well, yeah, Hamlet's another entry one that's great too as well. But once again, to jump up, and you saw, back what I did back at the old houses, I did all those filler adventures when we did the Return to the Temple of Mental Evil, our version of it. So I was just curious if you had to go to, it's just, but your style's a little bit different. You're all over the place, so it's cool. With Salt Marsh, I love Salt Marsh, and they've done the Ghost of Salt Marsh now. The 5e book's out, but I still love you and I are so old school. We're sticking with old school, So, anyone have any questions online? Everyone said, "Hey, Tim."
I didn't have my the Twitch open, so I'm like.
Oh, okay. Well, Temple. Some good modules. All right. So, please don't jump off at the end tonight. The ship combat now looks pretty good. I've kind of browsed through it a little bit. I'm going to not premiere, but I'm going to premiere on our channel. I'm going to premiere a video that Adam, Will's main guy, did. They're starting Ghost of Salt Marsh on Wicked Studios LLC's site Tuesday night. So it's a 2-minute spot. So at the end, I'm going to run that. It's a very well done vid. So I want to shout out to Will and his group. I'm going to show you that to give him a little assistance here to spurn it up, because Ghost of Salt Marsh.
Brotherly love.
What's that?
Little D&D brotherly love.
That's exactly it. Plus, Salt Marsh was great. So whatever edition
So
it
are they
is.
calling it the Ghost of Salt Marsh, and it's basically the same adventure? They just 5E'd it.
No, they changed it a lot. It's what they did. All right, so this is good. This is good discussion here while we're winding down. Tim is as old school as I am. Like what they did in. Can anyone out there explain in chat what they did differently in 5e? It's basically they made Salt Marsh a campaign setting. Greyhawk's not the campaign setting; it's the Salt Marsh setting. And then they did some of the adventures around it. They pulled a lot of dungeon modules into it as well. And they have a lot of ship combat. There you go. Correct. So I'm right about it. Yeah. That's what they did. So it's a 5e hardback book. You can get it pretty cheap on Amazon now, like $28, a little less than that. So, but it's 5e based, man. So I would use the old modules. I use U1 through U3.
Yeah.
Dungeon Magazine number 23. Blake's been bringing up a whole bunch of stuff, and I've been looking to see. I've been doing a search in my 855 modules, and that one doesn't come up either. Did not run that one either, Blake.
Second, I might get that White Dwarf.
Okay, yeah, please get that White Dwarf 18. So that is in name only, I think, to not have it branded as Greyhawk. So yes, correct, Dana. Thank you for that information. So they have tieflings in it. We don't have tieflings. We have cambions and alu demons, and they're super rare. They have they've done a lot of stuff. They watered it down a little bit. They have this Iya's merchant supposedly in it, which makes no sense to me, but
especially if you're not setting it in.
Yeah, exactly. That's where there's a lot of iffy stuff to it. So as Tim, there you go. Did you find it? Is it
White Dwarf
18? Wow, that is old. Yep.
Wow.
And it's in good shape too. How long have you had that?
When was it published?
All right, so 30, 40 years. That's 40 years old.
So yeah, this is 1980, right?
Yeah, so it's almost 40 years old. Cool.
I mean, it was new. It was current.
Excellent. Cool, man. That's good to know that we try and keep we try and have the real copies of it to respect people's propriety. So yeah, and yeah, there it is right out of the mod, right out of it. Yep. Cool, dude. Good to see you actually have it. So it's hopefully we went over a bunch. If anyone wants any of those, I can give you references to, once again, everyone has a dragon or a dungeon or a white dwarf connected to it. There's some good ones. I love most of them. I mean, there's only a couple, like Keys of Tirandor, I will never run. We already said that because of, I don't want everyone, we said for the reasons why, but there's some great adventures you can take and convert, and Baeldor, Citadel by the Sea, Wounded Worm, Astaris, Necros, Gross Talcott, they're all good. And we want to just give you a flavor for back in the day. It was a lot to make, continue, new content. Dungeon Magazine by far was my savior back then in college, doing all this other stuff, running around, carousing, right? The dungeon magazines, there's got to be, I don't know, I should go through the percentage of dungeons I've done. With the Flame, which is out of Dungeon 1, and then Flame comes back as an undead dragon in a future dungeon. They're all in, there's great ones, and there's a lot of Greyhawk-based ones in there we didn't even get to. We kept it with Vortext. It's Vortext, 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 number 8. There was only ever 9 Vortext magazines done. I got my copy off of Noble Knight Games. They had one. So that's where I got Vortext Rocks magazine, but that one, the Hidden Temple of Earthnell, we will be getting to shortly, so you will see it live. And the dungeons were a savior. So I wanted to bring this out to just show you a bunch of modules that we consider classic. That where the Dark Brotherhood started. I know Rox and I talked about that previously, or where we got our inspiration from early on. These old modules. Now, here's my question to two of you: which 1 to 4 of all these belong on a published magazine wall of fame?
Say again.
You know how I have my wall of fame up for modules?
Yeah.
Which one, maybe one, maybe not all of them, which ones would belong on our wall of fame if I were to do a magazine wall of fame? Obviously, Citadel by the Sea is probably the first one up.
Yeah, Citadel by the Sea's got to be up there.
Right. Okay. Maybe that's the only one. Who knows? I'm just saying that, exactly, Blake. Side treks were fantastic in Dungeon as well. And not until the adventure cards came out in the City Greyhawk box set did they have that concept of the short module really published anywhere, because there wasn't any internet, there wasn't any downloads on Drive-Thru RPG, none of that stuff. So you had to really make do, and you had to come up with stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
And you can get all sorts of things now all over the place. It's really accessible. So I'm thinking that Chapel of Silence is close to going up there. We've all run it, all three of us.
I vote that for nostalgia for me specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember the detail. I read it since we did it way back. I mean, I read it as an adult, but
right.
How detailed it was. But I just remember going through it.
My personally, I thinking I'm gonna put the Crypt of Astaris up there because it's actually where the Dark Brotherhood first begins. Maybe that one, but the two I think out of this group that are definites. Oh no, just the Twofold Talisman really should go up.
That's what I was going to.
Yeah. So if we were to pick 4 modules that I'm going to put up on the wall in the first row, we're going to go Citadel by the Sea, Chapel of Silence, and then the Twofold Talisman, both parts, right? And that gives us 4. I think that's a good starting point for 4. See, now the only problem is you can't get these. They're never going to be in color. They're going to be black and white up on the wall, but that's as good as we can get, right? Look at that. I have Citadel by the Sea right here too. Right. So, I mean, I can frame them, but to the right of that opening.
We're always black and white.
Yeah, that's it. That's as good. They were never colored, so that's. But all right, so all three of us are in agreement. Those are the 4 out of all the ones we discussed tonight.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool, excellent.
I still will feel like this one, but I understand because not everyone did it.
Yes, and personally, Jason Zavada may agree with you, and some other people, but I can't put one on. I never even DM'd or played in my campaign, so. But we're close. We're close with a couple others, and we can always discuss that. But I was thinking that if we were going to do that, and Mark and I have been talking about that for months.
Wait a minute, was Chagmat the one with the old dude?
Yeah, Akron Ahia with the one-armed guy. Yes.
One-armed guy. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and they tied him up and they hung him off the edge of the cliff, and then he got to the top of the cliff before we did. Remember? And Mark told the story already online right before you came on.
That's fine. I finally connected.
And everyone was playing a barbarian. I was playing a ranger. I played Alaric, I think his name was, a ranger. Yeah, everyone played, or I forget what you guys played, but
I think actually I had a female barbarian with like 18 intelligence.
Yeah, and Luke had a barbarian, another woman had a barbarian. Everyone had barbarians.
Jack had a barbarian. Yep.
Yeah, there was like 5 barbarians in the group, so it was crazy. Yeah, fun times. All right, so announcements. Okay, tomorrow night. Mark, go. Yep.
So tomorrow night is hopefully the end of the adventure Dano's Nose. They have left Dano's home and are headed back through the Enchanted Forest. And looking up in the sky, they happen to see what says "Surrender the bag." That's all that they know at this point. So, but tune in. I'm not sure. We may be actually starting earlier. We've been talking about possibility of starting a little bit earlier, around 5:30 or so, but I will double check just to be 100% sure. So make sure take a look at the Twitch site. You'll see for sure Jay will have it up there.
I have it down 5:30 to 9 right now.
Yeah.
So, which is cool. And if you know, it starts a little early, a little late, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. But it's, the Adventures of Slap. Don't miss it.
And 2 weeks from now, it's on our list of events. Everything's always on our events tab. It says TBD. I have no idea what he's going to run into that. So he hasn't, right. Do you know yet?
No, I don't know yet.
So it's
I leave it
TBD.
up. So my group has a couple of different groups that they play. I leave it up to them as to what they feel that they would actually like to do. So it's usually just a TBD at that point. My guess would be is since we've just we'll be finishing up an adventure with Slap, they'll probably go back to the Shieldland group.
Yeah, and Rocks. I don't think any of the other Vortex have a D&D adventure in them. Only only Vortex State had one, and it looked cool, and that's why we wanted to get it. Now we got our hands on it, grubby hands on it. So I've been scrolling since midway through the show. The terrain for, let me go over this for Thursday nights. Thursday nights group is called the Keep Group, which is a dumb name. I agree. From day one, but
well, it's no Omega Patrol.
It's Tim's like the Keep Group.
I wasn't the only one on that.
Yeah. So the Keepers, yeah, the Keep Group or the Shieldlanders, even though most of them aren't real native Shieldlanders. But this would be the first time, you've seen some of these in other adventures, like they weren't really fully active, and that was Return to Events Before David Gradavis's Wedding. Naz, you may have seen some of these characters, but they weren't fully active. This is the first time I've ever streamed this group. It is a group of a lot of Knights of Ulick and Knights of the Holy Shielding mixed together with some really interesting neutral characters together. All mishmashed. There's a lot of hardcore firepower when it comes to melee combat in this group. So the Keep Group will be starting at their base. There's a picture of them with two individuals in the background of some sort. Yeah, but that's the group of that's the characters. So what is happening? We're going to go to the map here real quick and I'll show you. So a little synopsis for Thursday night. You have your adventurers and two individuals are going to come to them and say, look, East Fork, which was on Anna's map, okay, here's blown up. You see the Drake Estate and Durgam's Folly, that's where they are. Here, let me hold it there so it doesn't, shoot, it's going to flip. Let's see if I can get it in time. Don't shuffle. Okay. So you have the Drake Estate and Durgam's Folly. That's their two locations. Along the way to Walworth Crossing is where events from David Gravis's wedding took place. That has been renamed Lights Reclaimed Pillar by the Fultians that were there, but it's still flipped. But there were only 3 of them there, right? There was only 3 Fultians there. Oh, I didn't update it. No wonder. Okay. So, okay, there we go. One flip. Okay. So that one was months ago we did that adventure, and that one is up. Walrus Crossing's there, so we don't know what's happening there. But you see Radiant Fork to the northeast. It used to be called East Fork. It was abandoned during the wars. Something happened there. They don't know the story behind it, but East Fork had been abandoned in our campaign for a long time. We don't talk about weddings, thanks, Naz. But now a group of Fultians has moved in and renamed it Radiant Fork. And if you notice, all 4 paths meet at Radiant Fork, so it may be vital down the road. Turns out that something very sinister is going on in Radiant Fork, and the Keep Group is going to go and check it out, and that's where we will start on Thursday night with the discussion on what's actually going to happen here. This is going to be I think it's maybe 2 to 3 weeks max. We may be able to get this done in 2, but I'm looking forward to this group because we haven't streamed this group yet in an entire year. So we'll get some new characters in here. You can see some really cool characters you haven't seen yet. The levels run from 7 all the way up to 10th in this group. It turns out that the priest classes go up a little faster, so that's where you get the 7th through 10th. And let me reshuffle this again so it'll continue to move again. But yes, so I'm looking forward to running this, and there's a terrain map already set up of Radiant Fork and the lands beyond it. Look, they have farmlands and everything. The Fultians are doing very well here. Well, we'll see what happens. So that's what's happening on Thursday. Next Sunday is our 50th Gabbin show. So I had that little. Oh, Tim, you missed it. The comet came in the air first. Our special comet came and introduced the 50th splash on the show. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was waiting to hear the sad news.
No sad news. No sad news.
Maybe we'll just plus up some of my characters' stats.
So Mr. Comet came and showed that. It's a joke. Like when the comet. Have you ever seen the movie from the '80s, Night of the Comet? And everyone's like, "Ooh, look it up there!" And then they all disintegrate. In my world, if you see that comet, you're going to lose a lot of your magic items and some super high stats. You're going to be unmonty-holed, basically. So when you see the comet, everyone runs. But I just had to use the comet recently on Schlum and Meal. But I don't think there's very few characters left that I have to cometize. That's what's called cometizing the characters. So Sunday or 5th.
You have to, or he'd punch Thor right in the mouth.
The 50th show, I already have some guests lined up, and it's going to be some classic people. And we're going to just sit here and we're going to BS talk on Greyhawk. We're going to take questions, open questions, open stories. I want people to just tell whatever they want to tell. About great moments, some comedies, some sad moments, some momentous occasions in their campaign, some general knowledge questions, open questions from the audience. So it's called Greyhawk Talk, Gabbin Lord Peak Saving 50. The scheduled people so far, I have Will's coming on, Anna's coming on, Brian Blumklotz is coming on. I have invited 5 other people. None of them have gotten back and said no, and none of them have said yes. I've invited, I won't, say who they are, but they're all people that are vital to the future of Greyhawk Group. And my people are open, welcome invitation on this well, because we have a ton of Greyhawk stories too. So I'm looking forward to just celebrating our 50th show next week, next Sunday, and just 50th show, Greyhawk Talk. That's what we'll have next week. So it'll be a fun one. Looking forward to it. And then we'll move on from there. The week after, I forget what I called it. Oh my gosh. But the Gabbin in 2 weeks from tonight is number 51, and Naz will like this one. It's called Characters You Love to Hate. Okay. All right. So I think we talked about this for a long time, and that's in 2 weeks. Unless I have a special guest, that's what we'll run, and that is people. We all know who the characters are that we love to hate. So we're gonna, pull that out of our campaign. It could be characters maybe not in our campaign that other people hate, but we all know who they are. So Michael, Tom, Fritz, and Garth. It could be some other ones. Gilthinus is up there.
Gilthinus is definitely
by NPC. All the Winchesters. Come on, tell me Randall White's not on there.
Oh, Randall White is definitely on there.
Yeah. And so it could be good guys, bad guys, but we just want to talk and bullshit about that. Yeah. So that'll be in 2 weeks. I thought that would be a good topic too. So, in closing, before I show this great Will Wicked Studios LLC 2-minute vid, and then I'll finish it up with a MBA. You guys have anything in closing you guys want to bring up? Tim, thanks for hopping on. I know you were tied up, but really appreciate you coming on and really explaining T's and Thane.
Oh, there's the white door.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Just as we always add, we don't care what version it is that you play. If we can be of any help, of any assistance, we'll be more than happy to do so. Thank you for watching. We can't do this without you.
No, and like I said, the audience has been fantastic, and we really appreciate it. And we're just going to keep on bringing content that for everyone. So we're always going to throw in a little different thing here and there, and just try and keep these shows fresh. And keep these shows, so that we try and help everyone out and share our story, because it's a long story. And I want to say one last thing, thanks, Anna. Anna's definitely going to be in next week. Has some great stories. I want to say this. I want to say personally thanks to Jason Zavada, who really gave us a great review / blurb compliment on his blog about us. That was
Very nice.
fantastic. Really, I wanted to just say thank you. Hey, it was nice. I think it's the nicest thing that's ever been written about us. And we all saw the Atlantic had an article about a group that had been playing together for 30 years in California. Big whoop, playing together for 30 years. Not the same campaign, playing together.
Yes,
was
good
it.
job. You were being born.
And
right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Who cares? They've been playing together. That's all right, great. They've been playing for 30. Like I said, we've had the same campaign for 39. So I was like, oh my gosh. But it's the way it
But
goes.
they might live longer, Jay. So in the end, they could end up getting longer.
No.
How
No.
long we live.
We all look good for our age, so we're gonna be rolling until we're in our 70s. So, but Glamsing will probably die of natural causes before any of us
he's gonna do
does.
Magic jar, and he's gonna just live on.
I was shocked. There was one elixir of youth in that adventure I put on Thursday night, and no one took it in the first round of picks. I was shocked.
Oh, maybe somebody will give it to him as a gift.
No, Garth took it. No, Herbie took it in the second round on the way back. Herbie took it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We're gonna put this on for 2 minutes, and I'll go to NBA. And so, thanks, guys. Please watch this. I'm looking forward to this. This takes place in the Return to Bandit Kingdoms. Are going to do Saltmarsh. I think they're going to do a great job with it. And so, this is a brilliantly done video. So I said, hey, no problem, Will. Let's run this. Hopefully, I press the right button here. So, guys, remember, it doesn't matter what edition you play, just as long as you play Greyhawk. It's great for us. We'll see you soon. Tomorrow night, Mark's game. See you tomorrow night, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, guys. See yous.
Very awesome.
That was awesome.
That was great.
I didn't want to talk over it. Hopefully, I get you a little boost up there, Will. All right. So, and let's say said, Will's a great partner. So, check it out. Check it out on Tuesday night on 9 p.m. EDT, or was that ECT? I always forget. I'm sorry. I think it was EDT.
PDT.
9 p.m. EDT. See you tomorrow night too.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Ciao. I'm hanging.
I'm trying to think of probably the most recent. I had actually gone through. I had a lot of the Dragon and adventures like on PDFs on free and printed a couple of runs. I didn't really.
It's tough, man. That's why you
I
gotta.
didn't really run that many. I kind of starting my daughter off. Started her off with like a homegrown. It fixed it, but I had to make it like